Welcome, everyone. And we're glad that you're with us for this last webinar in our series. In case you're new to the series, I just wanted to kind of give you some context. 9 wonderful women from around the world came together to create this webinar free of charge for local schools, public schools, international schools. We really just wanted to help schools find ways to be more inclusive and have the learning they needed to help their teams do that. So I've been really fortunate to partner with these 8 other experts from around the world to put this series together. I'm so fortunate to be able to work with Jessica Warner. She's from North Shore Learning, and I also partner with North Shore as well. So I'll let her introduce herself, but just thank you so much for being here and for hosting this last of our series. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's so good to be here with you all. And thank you, Lauren. Lauren's intention months ago was, like she said, to put something out that was accessible to everyone. And I'm really happy to be a part of that cause. So today I am talking to you, to you adults, because we've been talking about neuroinclusion. Many of the people who have been coming, I believe, work special education, inclusion specialists, perhaps you're a parent with a child with an inclusion need. And you've learned so many cool things about ways to support students. But I know that there's probably nobody in your life making sure you feel supported. I know this because I live this and I work with teachers everywhere. So that's why today is about you. We are going to assume you now have lots and lots of cool tools to support students. Today's about you. How do you support yourselves? Because life is hard. Honestly, as it's just the bottom line. Life is hard, and there's more happening in the world. There's more happening in our lives. If you're working with kids who have higher needs, you probably have higher needs for managing your own emotions, self-care. That's why I said, at the very core of everything, life is hard for everyone. So I am from North Shore Learning. Feel free to check out the QR code, and we will get started. So North Shore Learning, we're based in the States. I'm actually in Minneapolis, Minnesota, but we work with schools around the world. We are different because everything we do is grounded in neuroscience. So we talk about pedagogy, we talk about teaching, and we talk about well-being, but it's all based on the most current science out there. We offer things like instructional coaching, well-being work, behavior support, and inclusion. And right now, I would say the behavior support is the number one thing we're doing, and this is worldwide. And the behavior support and the inclusion, as we know, they cross. And then well-being, actually, they're all kind of included together. So this is the type of work we do. I just wanted to get started. You can engage or not, but I was thinking, those of us who work with kids all day or with other adults, I just want you to consider this song from The Little Mermaid. So my 13-year-old daughter, is in a production of The Little Mermaid right now, and I keep hearing the song where Ariel says, "I want to be where the people are." You know that part. She's like desperate to be on land. I want to be where the people are. And so I'm just, as like an icebreaker, if you were to answer the question or you were to fill in the blank, I want to be where the blank are, what would you put? Because when I thought of this the first time, I thought, I do not want to be where the people are. I want to be where the people aren't. Like when I have time to myself, I want to be, and this is my silly little answer, I want to be where the weekends are. I want to be where the dogs are. Huge dog person. I have dogs on my coffee cup. So what would it be for you? Lauren, what about you? Where do you want to be? I want to be where the what?
Yeah, I also wanna be where the dogs are. I wanna be where the sunshine is, that's really important for me.
Yes.
And, yeah, and I wanna be where I wanna be where I can hear the waves. So, yeah, that's what I want.
Nice.
Good for my
Yeah.
nervous
No, if
system.
anybody wants. Exactly. Now, I was thinking of my nervous system, and actually today is all about your nervous system. What does my nervous system needs? It needs weekends, it needs dog friends. I want to be where the couches are for my nap. So I really feel like Ariel should reconsider her position. But anyway, this is just something I've been talking about with people lately. And everybody agrees. Nobody wants to be where the people are, usually. They want to be they want to be where there are other things to promote their well-being. And we know because we're educators, we work with people all day. Sometimes you just need a little alone time. Okay, this is where we're going. That was just kind of a silly way to start. But think about it. I want to be where the what is. We are going to talk about the window of tolerance. So when I talk about grace in the overwhelm, I I don't like the word self-care. It's used really commonly. I just feel like it's kind of overused right now. And so when you say self-care, people think, oh, you're going to tell me to go do yoga, or you're going to tell me to go get a massage. And I don't have time to do yoga, and I can't afford a massage. And so I feel like self-care has turned into kind of its own industry. And what we're talking about today is not the things we're going to do don't involve any money. Like these are things you can do to help your nervous system. And so I explain it in terms of the window of tolerance. So understanding our own window of tolerance and how it responds when we're overwhelmed. I'm going to talk about self-compassion and why it matters. Self-compassion, when Dr. Kristen Neff, who I'm going to speak to, when she first introduced this concept, I want to say it was like 20 years ago, it was way out there. It was like in the psychological community, it was considered like really woo, kind of out there. But it's come really mainstream. And I'm excited to share some of her work with you because I feel like I find it really useful as a parent, as an adult, as a consultant working with people, and having my own child who has neurodiverse needs. And then we're going to talk about how to be kind to your future self, which is really kind of under the bucket of executive function. So this is where we're going today. Like I said, you all know that things like exercise is good for you, meditation, if you're into it, taking vacations. Like we know that these things help us. So we're going to talk a little more micro today. Like how do you infuse moments of self-compassion? How do you infuse moments of kindness into the times when you're overwhelmed and your nervous system is responding? So that's the way I like to look at these things. This is me. I am in no way like an expert on well-being, but I am a very eager learner and I want to know all the things I can do to keep my nervous system calm because in my little family we have a lot of high needs. So I know this and I live this and I've already lived it this morning. It's 8:10 a.m. We've already had a breakdown and people have been awake for 1 hour. So I have to consider these things for myself. But my company is North Shore Learning. This is old, coaching and consulting. We're trying to help schools thrive. Specifically, I'm trying to help teachers thrive. Teachers are the backbone of everything. And teachers are the ones working with all the kids and all the needs. And I want to see people stay in the profession, even though I know how hard it is. So that's the reason why I do what I do. I taught elementary school, I taught middle school, and I taught preschool, actually, in the US, South America, Europe, and Africa. In my free time, I am an education professor. I teach an assessments course in classroom management at the University of Notre Dame. And my humans here are the reason why I do everything I do. Picture's a couple of years old, but my little guy on the left is in 5th grade, and my daughter on the right is in 8th grade. And I see things from the perspective of in schools, I see the teacher perspective, I see the leadership perspective, and I see the parent perspective. And I live all those things. So that's why I do what I do. I want my kids to be able to make it through the system. I want to be able to know they have great teachers. And ideally, I want to make sure their kids, my grandkids, have great teachers. So that's why I so actively take a role in working with teachers. Okay, so let's start on things that'll actually help you. The window of tolerance. I don't know if you've heard of this or not. I like it. I like things that are really digestible and easily understood. So I like the window of tolerance. If you think about the window of tolerance, and you can think about it for yourself during the day, everybody has a different window. Some people's tolerance windows are really big. Mine happens to be pretty big. Others are really narrow. I'm sure you can all think of people who have that narrow window. But ideally, the window of tolerance is where you go up and you go down during the day. Things happen, they're good, they're bad. Ideally, you stay within that window. And the window is where you can self-regulate. You can keep yourself from getting into a space where you're overfunctioning, feeling anxious, angry, out of control, or the other side is underfunctioning. And this looks like freeze or flight. I guess flight could go either way. This looks like freeze and fight, flight, or freeze. So again, everybody's window is a little different. And throughout the day, you're kind of going up and down. And think about it in terms of, when do I leave my window? So, what are the things, what are the events, what are the times of day that happen that take me out of my window? So, for the adults, I like to do this with kids. Kids understand this pretty easily. With adults, think about it in two ways. Number one, kind of get an idea in your head of your own window. What does it look like? And thinking about the times of day, the things that are happening that take you out of it. So as a teacher, I work with a lot of teachers. The afternoon tends to be a time where we start leaving the window. Same for the students. It's been a long day. Our brains are full and we have a lot of energy or not. So that's one time of day. I work in a lot of cities, really large capital cities internationally, where people show up to school. They're already outside the window because the traffic is so terrible. I know, Lauren, you understand this, but already it's like they're showing up, they're outside the window, the traffic's been terrible. So just think about it in terms of yourself. And also think about, for you, where do you tend to land? Do you tend to go up with overfunctioning, or do you tend to err in the underfunctioning? I kind of do both. This is my own self-reflection. I kind of do both. I do more under functioning now because I feel like, because I'm holding my own nervous system and I'm trying to hold the nervous systems of my kids, that if I go up into anger, anxiety, overwhelm, we know they will join me. So if anything, I try to veer the other way. That's not healthy either. But again, this is just about kind of self-reflection. Where do you go in that window when you exit it? And thinking about it again, how do we stay inside? How do we stay inside? How do we give ourselves the tools and the experiences and the breathing room to keep ourselves inside that window when things are tough? And then giving ourselves the grace and the self-compassion and forgiveness to know that sometimes we can't stay in the window. Just consider your own window, and think about maybe some loved ones. You can see everybody's got kind of a different level of tolerance for different things. And I like to think about it in these terms because, like I said, it's really easy, it's really digestible. You see, and this is what most humans err one way or the other. But just thinking about what it looks like for you, is helpful. So, where is your window of tolerance? And today we're going to talk about what you can do to kind of keep inside the window, but then how we can forgive ourselves when we don't. Okay, what causes you to exit your window? Everybody's got their own triggers. Here are just a few examples. I put traffic on here because I hear about traffic all the time. The second picture is my son he's not actually having a bad tantrum, he's having a happy one. But still, the behaviors of our kids and our students can definitely put us outside our window. The weather can be a big trigger for me. I live in Minnesota. It's like the tundra. And when I wake up and I know now there's snow on the ground, it's going to take me forever to get where I'm going, I have a lower tolerance. And then I have food. Okay, food tends to be a huge trigger for a lot of people, most people. Hangry? Anybody
Yeah.
ever feel hangry? Right. So these are kind of common things that cause people to leave. But there are other things as well. And same with our students, sensory, different sensory sensations, noise, all the different things that kind of cause us to leave our window. And it's not usually gradual, it's usually sharp, right? We're kind of like sharply going. But just knowing yourself and knowing what kinds of things trigger you helps us to be able to say, okay, now I know my nervous system is going to need a little refresh because it's after lunch and the kids are going to come back from recess like full of energy, whatever it is. Okay. So I wanted to introduce you to Dr. Kristen Nuff. I don't know how many of you have heard of her. Like I said, when she came on the scene, it was really out there. It's really like this woman, she's talking about self-compassion. She is a researcher and tenured faculty at UT Austin. So she's always been really legitimate, but I think the idea was kind of like self-compassion, what? But she wrote this book. This was her original book, Stop Beating Yourself Up and Leave Insecurity Behind. It's great. I have it on my bookshelf. And this is her original work. She is now, this is years later, she's kind of all over the place. She has a program specifically for educators, which I think says something. If there is a specific program on self-compassion just for educators, it means that the need is really high, which is why I'm going to speak to it today. She's also started self-compassion work with healthcare workers, which I think is incredible. These are two professions that obviously we need. And we have a lot of people who tend to be really compassionate with others, kind of project the compassion, but it's harder to have for ourselves. So who can relate to this? When I do something well, oh, that was good. When I make a minor mistake, flat out thinking of all the things, beating yourself up. This is a really common reaction. I speak from my own experience, but with the educators I work with, I coach so many teachers. And if I can watch a beautiful class where 99.9% of things go the way they expected. And then that one thing that didn't, that's what they'll have in their mind and they'll ruminate on. So who can relate? This is kind of the crux of self-compassion. This is why we need it, so that we don't end up flat on the floor every time something minor goes wrong. Educators tend to be very, very compassionate. So compassionate, in fact, that we tend to develop compassion fatigue, which is a secondary traumatic stress disorder. This is like legitimately a traumatic stress disorder, or a response directly related to feelings of helplessness and psychological distress experienced by individuals in helping professions. So it's secondary stress. It's really interesting to me that Johnson and Figley, this is from the early 90s. It doesn't really show up much in the literature until more recently. I think we tend to think about it more with healthcare professionals, especially during the COVID times. We were thinking a lot about compassion fatigue for healthcare professionals. And now we're talking about it more as it comes to educators and anybody in the helping profession, social workers, psychologists, etc. So compassion fatigue. And just considering, again, this is about us, my self-awareness. Is it possible that I could feel this way? That I am feeling secondary traumatic stress from the level of compassion I am giving to my students or my own kids or my spouse. We just don't tend to be as compassionate with ourselves, right? We have a lot of compassion for the students, for the world, even for the parents when they're a little crazy. But when it comes to ourselves, we tend to have given it all away. I don't know, Lauren, do you ever
Yeah,
relate
no,
to this?
of course. Yeah, absolutely. My background is as a behavior specialist before I went into leadership or anything. And there were so many days that, well, I also felt like I didn't even have compassion left for like the other loved ones in my life, but definitely me for sure. Right. Like I had emptied everything I had for those kids and I just couldn't find, there was nothing left, scraping the bottom. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I like that you said even for other loved ones in your lives. I think so many people can relate to that. And I always have so much respect for the teachers who are dealing with the hard things all day long. And then they go home and they have a family. They have like other humans who need their love and care and attention. It's a lot. That's a lot. You were empty at the end. Like, that's the word you used. I think it's perfect. You could feel empty at the end. So, this is Jessica giving everybody permission to be a little more self compassionate. And sometimes we just need somebody random giving us permission and even shedding light on the fact that it exists. Like, how many of you knew that self compassion was its own body of psychological research? Like, it really is, because um, it's impacting so many people. And the reason why we're not as compassionate with ourselves is because our brains are wired for survival and we have this negativity bias. So we notice the negative. That's a survival mechanism. We notice the negative in our classrooms. We notice those minor mistakes that we make. That's the brain doing its job. The problem is self-criticism becomes habitual and we start to develop these neural pathways where that's all we're seeing. And it's like, how was my day? And all we see are the times where we slipped outside our window of tolerance. So that's why I like thinking about this in terms of self compassion, knowing that this is our tendency, this is what we know, and also how do we combat that? How do we show love to ourselves? The science shows, again, this is super interesting to me, that self compassion has a significant positive impact on well being, resilience, and stress management. So I'm going to show you a few of Dr. Neff's activities, her like basic activities that she uses. None of these are like crazy, hard, take a bunch of time, but they all significantly can impact your own resilience and stress management. So they're worth looking into, at least. If perfectionism were a physical illness, doctors would most certainly prescribe self-compassion as a way to treat it. Perfectionism. Does anybody relate? I find teachers tend to be educators. Y'all are perfectionists. What, you plan it all, you expect the plan to go as according, and then you beat yourself up when it doesn't. Yeah, I see this all the time. Perfectionists, we want things to be perfect, and it comes from such a good place. It comes from a place because we're here for our students and we want our students to be successful, especially when we know we're dealing with diverse classes and diverse learners. We want to give everybody what they need. But it can weigh on us. That perfectionistic tendency can really weigh on us. So I think it's really interesting that Dr. Roxy said, if perfectionism were a physical illness, self-compassion would be what doctors prescribe as a way to treat it. And here's Dr. Neff. Self-compassion entails being warm and understanding toward ourselves when we suffer, fail, or feel inadequate, rather than ignoring our pain or flagellating ourselves with self-criticism. So as I go through all these slides, I'm trying to like take my own advice, just so you all know, because I get in these states pretty consistently. So to attend to self-compassion, I'm just going to summarize the book for you. There are three parts. Number one is self-kindness. Just acknowledging what you're doing to yourself and trying to shine some of that love and compassion that you would give out to others back on you. The second piece is mindfulness, non-judgment, because there's nothing worse than falling into this trap and being like, oh, I'm being hard on myself. And then you're hard on yourself for being hard on yourself. So the mindfulness, non-judgment is to notice when you do it and just notice without any judgment. Like, yep, I'm falling into that right now. This one's actually, for me, it's the hardest because I start looping like, I'm supposed to be self-compassionate, but now I'm not, and then you see how it just perpetuates. Number 3 is common humanity. And I mean, these are 2 words you could like make a sign of and put in your classroom or at home. You're not alone. And I think sometimes we think I'm the only one this has happened to. My colleague wouldn't have responded this way. This is a bad day. Uh, but in reality, like I said at the beginning, life is hard. Life is hard for everybody. And just recognizing in those moments that we share this common humanity, especially as educators, we want to attend to all the needs of our students because we love them and we're here on purpose. And just reminding yourself that you're part of the mistakes you make and and the way you interact, lots of people feel and act the same way. It's not just you. And especially for, I don't know if you have any parents in the special needs community who have joined, we have to remind ourselves of this all the time because it is very lonely. It can feel very lonely and isolating when you're raising a child who is different. So, that common humanity, connecting with others who understand too, is so critical for our own health. So, Dr. Neff uses RAIN as an acronym that stands for ways you can do this. Number one, R, recognize what's taking place, just noticing. A, allow the experience to take place as it is. Don't fight it. Don't try and change. Just let it happen. I, investigate with self care and interest or non judgment. And then N, nurture yourself with compassion. Okay. I will say this is really hard. She wrote a whole book. She made it sound easy. Doing it in practice is really hard. I compare it to learning a new language. Like you actually are going to start talking to yourself in a different language. That's challenging. It takes practice, it takes persistence, but practice will cause the new neural pathways to form, and then it will turn into habit. So that's my own personal goal with this practice. I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it. But just know that this is hard. Here are some quick reframes. These are good for you and for your students, I think. Instead of what's wrong with me, I tried my best. How could I let this happen? I'm human, just like everyone else. I can't do anything right. I never signed a contract to be perfect. If this continues, I will fail. I've learned something. I can't do this. I can't do this yet. And some of you are probably thinking, yeah, this is growth mindset. This is what I teach my students. That's amazing. Do you follow the same things for yourself? That's the question. Do we have the same expectations for ourselves? Again, we have a lot of compassion for our students. What about us when we need it? So here are some simple practices that Dr. Neff that she shares in her book. And the idea here is if you're to maybe one of these will stand out as being something you want to try. You keep practicing it consistently, it creates the new neural pathways. Okay, gratitude sounds really simple, but the psychological benefits are huge. There's actually now research all on gratitude. It's like the psychology of gratitude. It's its own body. And that's how important little things like gratitude practices are for the brain. So being grateful for what you have, even though you are imperfect, this is a form of practicing self-kindness. So when things are hard, even doing a quick gratitude scan in our heads, it's a way of being kind to yourself because you're reminding yourself that there are good things happening despite how I'm feeling in this moment. Gratitude is an antidote to stress, hostility, worry, and anxiety. Really, the psychological benefits are pretty large. And these are practices you can do really quickly. I do try to do this a lot in the moment. So Dr. Neff's exercise is called 3 Good Things. And all that is at any point in time, doing a little self-scan. What are 3 good things happening right now, happening today, happening in my life? And again, this kind of changes the framework from self-flagellation to self-kindness. So what are the 3 things? And if you have more time, you can reflect on how it made you feel. And this, when I talk about gratitude with people, a lot of people think in terms of macro gratitude, I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for a job. And those are important. I'm really inviting people to think about the micro, all the little micro parts of your day. What are the little things that you're grateful for? And when I first put together this slideshow, you'll see my 3 things were it involved food because that tracks for me. I had a really delicious croissant. I saw a pretty flower. It was hot pink. I thought that was cool. And I had some snuggle time with my kids. Those are my little things. So thinking about that for yourself, what are the little things? Again, it helps us get into that framework of self-compassion, kind of focusing on the good, focusing on what we have, what we do need for ourselves rather than beating ourselves up. Like, "Oh, this is a bad day," or, "Oh, I shouldn't have reacted that way." This is a mindset shift I'm really working on. I am not there yet, but really even trying to see the big things or the hard things in terms of what if this isn't a bad thing. So, since my house burnt down, I now own a better view of the rising moon. This is my goal right here. I want to have this kind of perspective. This is a hard day, and what is it giving me to be a better person, or what is it showing me? Like, this is the perspective I'm going for. This is really hard. But what does this mean? It seems like this terrible thing has happened. What is the good I can take from it for myself and for my students? And then start thinking, when do I need to incorporate gratitude into my day? These are great practices to do with your students, all ages. End of the day, it's a great closing circle activity. My family, when we have family dinner, we'll go around and say one thing we're grateful for that happened that day. It can be these little micro practices you kind of plug in. I also like this is helpful for me. My daughter, who is 13, she has OCD, and her OCD causes her to be even more fixated on the negative. Like, it enhances her negativity bias. So she comes home from school and she's like fixated on the five unpleasant things that happened that day. And so, what I've learned to do with her is I'll say, I'm ready to hear all the things, but first, I want you to tell me three good things about your day. And so I'll have her kind of shift her mindset, think of the three good things, and then she can tell me her litany of complaints. And honestly, after the three good things, I can kind of see her mind shift. So, how can we use this with ourselves? And how can we use it with our students or our loved ones? A letter to self. This is a fun one when you have some time. I highly recommend it. All this is, and this is a Dr. Neff thing, recall a situation that was stressful, that made you feel doubt or self criticism. And then you are going to write yourself a letter and you're going to have the perspective of a friend or a loved one who cares about you, who is wise, compassionate. What would that person tell you? So, your letter to yourself, mine would be, Dear Jess, I'd probably do it in the voice of my mom. What would my mom be telling me about this situation? You write a letter to yourself from this person's perspective and imagine they're supporting you through this particular situation. And you can even think about it, little things that happen throughout the day at school. A colleague comes to you and says, Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this. Like, typically, here we're thinking about self compassion again. Do we say, Yeah, I can't believe you did that? That's terrible. Like, no, that's not how we show up for other people, right? We usually show up with a lot of compassion and grace. So now, writing yourself a letter, how would somebody show up for me? It's powerful. If you have 30 minutes, even if you have 5 minutes to do this activity, I've done it with groups at conferences. It's a really powerful practice. The first time I did it, I'll be honest with you, I could not do it, which probably says something. I actually got really emotional. I could not write myself this letter, which is why I'm so attuned to these self-compassion practices, because what that told me is I need more of that in my life. I am endlessly compassionate with other people, but I've got to give it back to myself. So I actually found this exercise really difficult, but it's worth trying. And then kind of reflecting after you do it, what did I notice? What came up? For me, what came up was like I ended up crying. Did you find it easy, difficult, or challenging to find kind words to say to yourself? And if it's challenging, I think like it is for me, it's a reflection like I need more of this in my life. Yeah, and just again, I like anything you try, just give it a little meta reflection. How was this experience? Did any part of it feel uncomfortable? How can I do this? How can I, if I wanted to integrate this into my daily life? And I give you a lot of options because I know not all of them are going to feel like the right one for you, and you might want to try a few different things. Okay, so before we go on, is there any questions, comments, Lauren, anybody about self-compassion?
Yeah, does anyone have anything in the chat that they wanna share? I realize we didn't do introductions at the beginning, sorry about that. But, yeah, if anyone wants to share anything, takeaways, just I like how you gave so many options. I struggle with journaling. So when you talked about writing the letter, I'm like, I would have a very hard time with that because I just like, I have to use a lot of prompts to get myself even to try to journal as a reflective practice. Um, yeah, did
I think
anyone
she I think she has prompts in the book too. I think she actually, or if you go to her website, she has worksheets. So that's actually that I think that's pretty useful. Like I said, they're all ideas to try. You could even, I feel like anything that involves pen to paper, you could also do verbally. I feel like you could just like maybe auto record yourself. These are all things you can do at staff meetings, honestly. Gratitude is a great opener, especially if your staff meeting is at the end of like a Monday. I feel like every school I work in has staff meetings Monday afternoon. It's a good place to start kind of reframing the day and the week. Okay, caring for our future selves. This one is one I'm also trying to be really intentional about right now. We talk about this in terms of executive function when we're helping kids and our students develop the skills they need to be successful. And I like kind of turning it and thinking, what can I give to myself that are things I need to be successful tomorrow? So I call it tomorrow Jess. Like, what can I do for myself today to set up tomorrow Jess for success? And I have this picture of luggage and going on a trip because that's exactly what we do for ourselves when we travel. We pack it all in that suitcase, everything we think we need or like could possibly need. It doesn't matter where we're going, right? We're going to bring all our medications, even if you can buy them like down the street in any place you go. We bring it all, we pack it. What do I need to be ready? We think about all the things. So I encourage us to kind of think about that in terms of day to day too. What's in my suitcase? What can I pack in my suitcase for tomorrow that's going to make my life a little easier? I'll explain what this means. Okay, so for me, coffee brings me a lot of joy. I have my coffee right now. Coffee brings me a lot of joy. And I need it, let's be honest. I actually need it for survival. So what do I do for myself? I program the coffee pot the night before. It starts on its own in the morning. I wake up and I smell it. I'm already happy. I have done something for myself to set myself up for success tomorrow just by programming the coffee pot. These are little things. But yeah, it makes a big difference. I'm not like in the dark in the kitchen measuring beans at 5:30 in the morning. These are little things I can do to help myself tomorrow. I like to eat healthy food. However, unless it is really easy to get and to prepare, I'm probably not going to eat healthy food. I'm going to eat whatever is closest to me. So, one of the things we've been trying in my family is to cut up a bunch of fresh vegetables on the weekend, and we just have them in the fridge, and it's accessible. So, when we do need something to eat, we've made it so that the healthy options are right there. And it's like cut up celery, cut up carrots. This has been amazingly effective for our family. And I don't have to be at dinner like, you have to eat a vegetable. And then I have to think, oh, I have to cook a vegetable. We just go grab some. So this was something that actually has been, I don't know, it's like a little thing, cutting up vegetables, having them ready to go, but it's been really helpful in helping our family eat a little better. But it does make it's something we have to think about in advance to prepare ourselves for future success. So other things I try and like do for myself for tomorrow, I look at my schedule and I need time alone. Like I said, I don't always want to be where the people are. Sometimes I need time for me. I look at it, I plug it into my schedule. It might look like 10 minutes, it might look like 2 hours. I make sure it's there. And sometimes this counts on my ride home. I've got a 20-minute drive home from wherever I'm going, but I make sure I have this alone time in my day because it helps my window of tolerance. I need it. Anybody who has children knows that the logistics of life are very complicated. Anybody who has a family, period, people need to be places, and you need to be at the doctor, you need to be at school, you need to be at soccer, you need to be at rehearsal. My husband and I have started taking time on the weekends to look through our schedule because we find this highly stressful the day of, like, who's going to soccer, who's picking up. So we actually will look through it in advance. And my husband, he's so good. He writes it all out because I like visual. I can't remember. I like it visual. I have it set out. This is helping my tomorrow self. So these are some of the things for Jessica and the Warner family that help me take care of myself tomorrow. Less things for me to think about. And again, it's just this is my way of kind of giving myself a hug, caring for myself. I've got you. I've thought about this. I don't know, Lauren, is there anything you can think of that you do for yourself in advance that kind of makes your life easier for your tomorrow self?
I I feel like I try to set up my life where I don't have to go search for things. That is a real stress point for me, in losing things and what did you call it at the beginning of the presentation? Like, when you get out of when you're
The window of
dysregulated.
tolerance. Yeah, dysregulated.
Yep. So for me, I don't know if this really is the same thing, but I have phone chargers in every room because 'cause I'm like, "I don't wanna go find a phone charger," I want it to be there. Those kinda things where I'm like, I just set up the spaces where I'm like, I don't have to go search. I have a place for the keys. There's just certain things but I don't know if that's exactly the same kinda thing, but yes, that
Yeah.
it keeps. Yeah.
Okay, I need your phone charger in every room idea. That's brilliant.
I'm like, I just I have 'em set I have one in the car. Yeah, my family makes fun of me for it, but I'm like, in the end, you can always charge your phone."
No way. And I bet they borrow your charger all the time.
Of course, exactly, and I have an old phone, so it's always dying, right? Because I won't pay for a new one, but I'll pay for the chargers.
Uh-huh. Yeah, if anybody wants to pop into the chat, tell us either something you do for yourself currently or something you could do. Again, I just want to show you it doesn't have to be big stuff. It's me making sure I have coffee in the morning. like this is something little. We don't always have time to get all we actually didn't this week. We do not have a fridge full of veggies chopped up, and I can tell it's only Tuesday because already I'm feeling a little stressed about us eating vegetables. So we don't always get this right. And this is where we loop back to self compassion. But yeah, does anybody have something that you do or you think, oh, that would be helpful? And think about it, educators, you guys do this for yourselves all the time at school. Most people don't leave school until they're ready for tomorrow, right? You all are really good about that because you don't want to show up at 7 a.m. to having to figure out what your lessons are. So how can we do things for ourselves, outside of the work too? All right, I'm gonna go to the chat.
Yeah. Okay. Meal prep ahead of the week, yes. Wake up earlier than everyone else to read the news. Those, moments of quiet. Time in nature, yeah.
Ironing clothes. Yeah.
I did that today, and I really don't like it, but, it does help
Uh-uh.
not to be stressed out in the morning.
Yeah, it's just again, if you're doing this already, give yourselves a pat on the back because you are taking care of your future self. And the thing is, nobody else does this for us, right? That's why we take care of other people. If you're an educator, this is literally your life all day, every day. Just making sure you're doing what you can to take care of yourselves as well. Nobody's going to do it for you. I hate to say it, but nobody's going to do it for you. So, what are ways you can care for your future or your tomorrow self? These are little things. What are some things that I can do to make life easier for me tomorrow? Turning off the phone outside of office hours. Yes. Thank you for these ideas because now I want to go do all of them. I think yes, that would make it easier for me. Any other comments about tomorrow selves?
Drawing to refocus.
Okay, the psychology carousel tells us if we want to try something new, Anything new, doing it consistently is the best way to create the neural pathway to make it stick. So I like this little graphic. Inconsistent, you kind of get stuck. It's easy to fall off. Consistent. So if any of these practices speak to you, maybe see if you can do them for the next 5 days or not even. Let's see if I can do it today and tomorrow. And then celebrate that. Oh, I did it 2 days in a row. What if I can do it for 5 days? What if I can do it for a month? Especially things like the gratitude. So the gratitude, it says usually to create that neural pathway, to start seeing things in a more grateful lens, it's about 21 days. So 3 weeks tends to be the magic number for creating a new habit. But don't start with 3 weeks because that's stressful. Start with like tomorrow. If you're interested in learning more about habits, James Clear, 4 Steps to Habit Formation. The hardest part is starting. That's the hardest part. But his book, and he has a nice little like 4-minute YouTube video on habit formation. But the 4 steps are: figure out what I want to do, number one. Number two, priming your environment, making your environment uh, ready so that you can do it. And that's where the future self prep comes in. So I work with a teacher who she said, on all of my planning periods, I'm going to spend at least half of it doing some kind of physical activity. So she said, I bring my walking shoes and I put them by my desk because when the planning period comes and I know I need to do this, I don't have to go to the car searching for shoes. So that's what priming your environment is. And then doing it, actually just reps. Do the reps, reward yourself, pat yourself on the back when you do it. He talks about rewards, but not so much as giving yourself anything. It's more just like acknowledging that you did the thing. But these are the 4 things that start making our brain want to create the habits. And I share these with you. I'm still working on all of them. I'm still trying to create my own habits, but starting is the hardest part. So thinking of someplace you want to start.
And you can always grow. That's the thing, right? It's not like you're ever going to arrive with this work. It's that you're making progress.
Drawing for refocus. Thanks, Galina, for sharing. Yeah. Well, what could be your own goal for yourself? Like, what is something you heard that maybe you want to try? Maybe it's, I want to sit down and map out my own window of tolerance. We actually do this when I give this presentation as a staff, or when I do this in conferences. We actually will map out our own window. What does it look like for me? When do I leave? It's helpful. It's helpful just to know your starting place. Or it can be maybe gratitude, maybe noticing when I need to be more self-compassionate. Maybe this weekend I'm going to write a letter to myself. Anything you want. Again, just keep us in mind, North Shore Learning. This is what we offer. Feedback. I would love to hear your feedback on this presentation. Freebies. I have this great little document, and it's like ways to take care of yourself if you have 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. I share this with educators a lot because you often only have 5 minutes. So I'm happy to share that with you. Or just let me know what you thought.
I'll put the Padlet where we've shared all the resources in the chat right now because I have access to that.
Perfect.
And then I'll link this in the Padlet so you all will have all the resources and also this. Is that okay, Jess?
Yeah, it's fine. And you can also email me. So here's my email. Feel free to email and say, I was on the webinar. Say hello. Let me know what you try. If you have any more ideas. But yeah, just take care of yourselves. It's easier said than done. I completely understand. But for us to keep doing the work, the hard work, the good work with people who need our full selves, we have to make sure we're ready to enter into that every day. And we can't do that if we're depleted. And so really is a call to action for everybody to at least start acknowledging some of our own feelings and needs because compassion fatigue is absolutely real. Burnout is absolutely real. We know it's happening. We know some of us are close, or we have colleagues who we know are in burnout mode. And like I said, my goal here is that the people who do this good work, like you all, are able to keep doing it for my kids, for my grandkids. It's really critically important. So thank you all for all that you do.
Thank you, Jess. Thanks for sharing some great little bits here that hopefully can help us all take better care of ourselves. And thank you all for joining. Really appreciate it for our last of our series. So be sure to click the Padlets in the chat so then you'll have access to all the resources. And I'll put this one in there as well. Thanks, Timo. Thanks for joining every week. It's been so nice. And these will all of the recordings will go live on YouTube next week, the 22nd of October. So free for anyone, your teams, whoever you want to have access.
Yeah, pass them around, share them for sure.
Yeah, exactly. That was the whole point, right? Oh, thank you. Bye, Rachel. Bye, Galena. Thanks, Barbara. I know. Maybe we'll do another round for the spring. All right.